You know, our great follower of the channel, Ryan Thompson, always picks my brain in relation to players he likes to see featured here, and I tend to agree. I kind of forgot about this guy, but when he mentioned him, I used to read about this guy when I was in grade school at Nash Creek Grade School in northern New Brunswick because he used to have vintage baseball books talking about the pre 1930 era. And this guy was an RBI demon. Only maybe Babe Ruth and later on George Foster, even David Ortiz can compare as to his important hits in the game. So today we're going to talk about the dapper one, Sam Thompson. Now, Samuel Luther Big Sam Thompson, born March 5th in 1860 in the great community of Danville, Indiana, was an American pro baseball player from 84 to 88 with a brief comeback in 1906. At 6'2", some people say he was 220 pounds. The native of Indiana was one of the larger players of his day, is known for his prominent handlebar mustache. He played as a right fielder in MLB for the Detroit Wolverines for 3 years, from 85 to 88, and the Phillies from 89 to 98. He also played with the Tigers in 1906. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame via the Veterans Committee, or the Veterans Group, in 1974. Now, a career 331 hitter, one of the most prolific run producers in baseball history. His career run batted in to games played ratio of 923. He had 1,305 RBIs in 1,410 games, remains the highest in Major League history. In 1895, Thompson averaged 1.44 RBIs per game, and he's 166 RBIs in 1887 in only 127 contests. Remained a Major League record until 1921 when Babe Ruth collected 168, albeit in 152 games. No asterisk for Babe Ruth, by the way. Thompson still holds a Major League record for most RBIs in a single month, with 61 in August 1894, while playing for the Phillies. Manager Bill Watkins in 22 called Thompson the greatest natural hitter of all time. That's because he would know the plate, didn't have to hit the home run, but like I said, a dynamite player in certain situations. Now, the idea about Thompson, he was also known for his defense, one of the strongest arms of any outfielder in the early decades of the game. He still ranks among the all-time Major League leaders for double plays from the outfield with 61, which is 61st all time. Now, of course, this was in the slow ball era, so he was strong in the field. He also had good speed on the base paths, and in 1899 he became the first Major League player to hit 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases in the same season, even though career-wise he only had 126 dingers. Now again, born in Danville, the fifth of 11 children born to Justin and Rebecca Thompson. He was educated at Danville Graded School. After reaching adulthood, he became employed as a carpenter in his hometown. He and his 5 of his brothers also played on local baseball squads, including one called the Danville Browns. Now, in July '84, Thompson began his pro baseball career at age 24, playing for the Evansville, Indiana team in the Northwestern League. A scout for Evansville traveled to Danville and was referred to Big Sam, who was working on a roof in Steinsville. Thompson was initially reluctant to give up his carpentry career and travel 150 miles to Evansville, but he ultimately agreed to give it a try. Unfortunately, the league folded in early August after only 5 games. But in those 5 contests, he compiled an impressive 391 batting average. Now, when he signed with the Indy Hoosiers of the newly formed Western League, this is where his legacy started to build. He compiled a 321 average in 30 games with the Hoosiers. He was approached by a Union Association team and offered more money, but a show of steadfastness to his word, Thompson refused the offer and remained with Indy at a pay of a stellar $100 per month. The Hoosiers were the dominant team in the Western League, compiling an 880 win percentage. Now, in mid-June '85, the Western League disbanded and a mad rush developed to sign the players on the Indy roster. A lineup that included Thompson, Deacon McGuire, Sam Crane, Chub Collins, Jim Donnelly, Mox McCreary, Gene Moriarty, and Dan Casey. Thompson later told a colorful story of his acquisition by Detroit. They sent 2 representatives to Indy, principally to sign the Hoosiers' battery of Larry McKean and Jim Keenan. The Wolverines were outbid by the Cincinnati Reds for McKean and Keenan, but it wound up with the Hoosiers manager, Bill Watkins, and the rest of the team's starting lineup. The only catch was that a 10-day waiting period would allow other teams to outbid Detroit. The duo that was sent in promptly sent the players to Detroit and quartered them in a hotel there. The next morning, the players were told that the team had arranged a fishing trip for them. The players boarded the steamship Annette and enjoyed the first day and night of successful fishing. After 3 days, the players became suspicious, but the ship captain laughed when asked when he could return to Detroit. As the players became mutinous on the 6th day, the captain admitted he had been ordered to keep them out at sea for 10 straight days. In another account, Thompson described his 10 days aboard the Annette as follows. We were prisoners, but well cared for. Anything in the line of creature comforts you could find packed away on ice. We lived on the best in the market and spent the rest of the time in fishing and playing poker, chips having been thoughtfully provided. On the night of the 10th day at midnight, we were taken ashore where Watkins met us and signed us to our contracts. The players were only later presented with their accumulated mail, which included scores of offers from other clubs. A writer for the Detroit Free Press later noted, Detroit Magnet showed some inside baseball brains and great finessing in sending the players away from their tempters for that period when they belonged to no club. Regardless of the trickery by Detroit, Thompson considered Detroit to be a mecca. He recalled his first time in '85 viewing Woodward Avenue with Indianapolis teammate Max McQuarrie. They gazed with open-mouthed amazement at the wondrous pavements, having never seen a street as clean and smooth as a table. Now, when Thompson joined the Wolverines lineup in early July, in his first plate appearance, he had a hit off New York Giants Hall of Fame pitcher Tim Keefe. The Wolverines were in last place when Thompson joined the club, but won 12 of their first 13 games after Thompson took over in right field. He compiled a 3.03 batting average in 63 contests. Despite playing only the second half of his rookie season, Thompson ranked among the National League leaders with 7 homers, third in the league, 9 triples, top 10. Displaying a strong arm that would be one of the main features of his defensive game, he also ranked 5th in the league with 24 outfield assists in only 63 games. Now, in 1886, team owner Frederick K. Stearns made a big splash when he purchased the Buffalo infield that had become known as the Big Four, consisting of Dan Brothers, Hardy Richardson, Jack Rowe, and Deacon White. In addition, Detroit pitcher Larry Baldwin won 42 games in '86, a major league record for a left-hander. The '86 season was Thompson's first full campaign in the majors. He made a major contribution to the 1886 club as well. 310, 101 runs scored, 13 triples, 8 home runs in 122 games. His 89 runs batted in ranked 3rd in the National League. His defensive stats continue to impress as well. He led the league with 11 double plays from the outfield, ranked 2nd with a .945 fielding percentage, and was 4th in the league with 194 outfield putouts. The '86 Wolverines compiled an impressive 87-36 record, but get this, lost the NL pennant, finishing 2.5 games behind the Chicago White Stockings. Now, '87 was his breakout year when he won the National League batting crown with a .372 average. He also set a major league record of 166 RBIs. Now, to many, this is considered the greatest season by a right fielder ever. Thompson also led the league in hits with 203, triples with 23, slugging percentage 565, total bases 308, and at bats with 545. Now, on May 7, '87, he became the first player in Major League history to hit 2 triples with the bases loaded in the same game. The '87 Wolverines featured 4 future Hall of Famers, Thompson, Dan Brothers, Deacon White, and Ned Hanlon, and won the NL pennant with a 79-45 record. The Wolverines then went on to defeat the Browns of the AA in a 15-game World Series challenge. Thompson played in all 15 games of the World Series and led all hitters with .362 average, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, and a .621 slugging percentage. Now, during the '88 season, Thompson was sidelined with a sore arm during most of the campaign and appeared in only 56 contests. His batting average declined to .282, and the fortunes of the entire 1888 Detroit team followed suit. The team finished in 5th with a 68-63 record. With high salaries owed to the team's star players and gate receipts declining markedly, the team folded in October '88, with players being sold to other squads. Now, with the Phillies, on October 16, '88, he was purchased from the Wolverines by the Philadelphia Quakers, known as the Phillies, beginning 1890, for $5,000 in cash, which was equal to $162,000 in today's money. In his first season with Philadelphia, he had .296 and led the NL with a career-high 20 homers. He also became the first major league player to reach 20 homers and 20 stolen bases. Thompson that year stole 24. He also improved his batting average to 313 in 1890 and led the league in both hits, 172, and doubles with 41. Now Thompson's batting average dipped slightly below 300 in 81 and 294, but bounced back in 1892 to 305. In each of his first 4 seasons with the Phillies, he finished among the league leaders in total bases and RBIs. He ranked third in total bases in 89, 90, and 93, averaging 250. Second in RBIs in 1892 with 104, and third in RBIs in 1890 with 102. He also tallied a career-high 32 outfield assists to lead the National League in 1891. It has been suggested that Thompson's assists and home run totals at Philly were aided by the short 300-foot right field fence at Huntington Street grounds. The Phillies were a good but not a great team due to Thompson's first 4 years in Philly, finishing in fourth 3 times and third once. Now, from 1893 to 95, he hit his stride with the Phillies. During those 3 years, he hit 390 and averaged 207 hits, 125 runs, 146 RBIs, 21 triples, and 24 stolen bases. And he compiled those numbers while striking out an average of only 14 times per season. Despite Thompson's contributions, the Phillies were unable to compete for an NL pennant, finishing in 4th place twice and 3rd in 1895. Now, Thompson's 1893 totals include a league-leading 222 hits and 37 doubles. After the 1893 campaign, he vowed not to return to Philly in protest over the owner's penny-pinching ways and the team's inability to compete for a pennant. In October 1893, he announced, "I shall not play again in Philadelphia, and I told Harry Wright it would be a waste of time for him to write to me about signing. The cheese-paring methods of the management have been the causes leading to my resolution. The management has made a barrel of money, but they grind the players into the dirt." Thompson finally agreed in March 1994 to return to Phillies, but only after management agreed to improve travel accommodations. Now, in 94, he was part of the only all-400 hitting outfield of all time. All 4 Philly outfielders ended the season with a batting average better than 400. Tuck Turner batted 416, Thompson and Ed Delahunty had 407, and Billy Hamilton had 404. Now, Thompson did miss a month from the 94 season with an injury to the little finger on his left hand. Doctors determined that the smaller bones in the finger were dead, and portions of the finger were surgically removed in mid-May 94. Despite the injury and partial amputation and being limited to only 102 games, Thompson compiled a 407 batting average with 28 triples, a career high, and 147 RBIs. His 1894 ratio of 1.44 RBIs per game remains the all-time Major League record. Also, his 28 triples were the second highest total in Major League history up to that time and remains the 5th highest of all time. Thompson also led the National League with a career-high .696 slugging percentage and also hit for the cycle on August 17, 1894, a rare occurrence in that era. Now, in 1895, Thompson had batted at .392 with 211 hits in 119 games and led the NL in slugging percentage with .654, total bases 352, extra base hits 84, home runs 18, and RBIs 165. His average of 1.39 RBIs per game in 1895 remained second in Major League history, trailing Thompson's 1.44 ratio in 1894. He also continued to perform well defensively with 31 outfield assists, second most in the league. From June 11th to 21st, he had 6 consecutive games with at least 3 or more hits. Since then, only Jimmy Johnson in 1923 and George Brett in 1976 had 6 straight games with at least 3 or more hits. Now, at age 36, he played his last full season of pro baseball that year. His average, 1896, his average dipped to 298, but he still managed to collect 100 RBIs. His throwing remained strong as he turned in one of the finest defensive performances of his career. He only played 119 games in the outfield, but led the league in fielding percentage, .974, with 28 assists and double plays for the outfield with 11. One sports writer noted that even at age 38, Thompson possessed an arm that the fastest sprinters in the big league had a lot of respect for. As a team, however, the Phillies fell to 8th in the NL with a 62-68 record. In 1897, at age 37, he was sidelined by pain and appeared only 3 games. Some accounts suggested that Thompson's absence from the lineup may have also been a result of his not getting along with the Phillies' new manager, the very stoic George Stallings. Without Thompson, the 1897 Phillies dropped to 10th with a 55-77 record. Now, before the 1898 season began, Thompson gave an interview in which he questioned the Phillies' chances to compete that year. What are the Phillies' chances this season? 6 clubs, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Boston, New York, Cleveland, Brooklyn, are bound to beat them, and he will have to fight hard to lead the second division. And I very, very much doubt if he can do that. Though his loyalty to the Phillies was questions, Thompson did return in 1898 and was batting .349 with 15 RBIs, 5 doubles, 3 triples, and a homer after 14 games. However, he opted to leave the team in May and returned to his home in Detroit. His sudden retirement is a tribute to a combination of homesickness and chronic back pain. Other accounts indicate that continued tension with Stallings contributed to Thompson's decision to retire. Now, some 8 years later, late in the '06 season, he briefly returned to Major Leagues as a player for the Tigers. When starting outfielders Ty Cobb and Davy Jones out of the Tigers lineup with injuries, he volunteered to fill in. At age 46, he had remained active, playing baseball for Detroit Athletic Club and other local squads. Accordingly, in late August and early September '06, he took his old place in right field for Detroit. Thompson's return to baseball led to an increase in attendance as the stands and bleachers were full of special Thompson delegations. After getting a hit and 2 RBIs in his first game, he totaled 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 RBIs, and a triple in 8 contests with the Tigers. At age 46, he became and remains the oldest player to hit a triple in major leagues. Detroit sports writer Paul H. Brusky noted that Thompson was still able to throw the ball from deep right field to the plate on the line, just like Dave Parker, and he still had a lot of speed in the bases. Now, in only 15 major league seasons, .331 average with 1,988 hits, 343 doubles, 161 triples, 126 home runs, 1,305 RBIs, and 232 stolen bases. Again, inducted as a veteran committee selection in the Baseball Hall of Fame in '74 with Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford that same year. Now, Thompson was one of the most prolific run producers in baseball history. Again, his career RBIs to games played ratio was higher than Lou Gehrig, Hank Greenberg, and Joe DiMaggio, and Babe Ruth. In '85, again, he averaged at 1.44 RBIs every game, still a record. Now, Babe Ruth did get 168 to break the record, and still holds that 61 RBIs in a month. I think that will never be broken. Now, he was one of the best power hitters of his era before Babe Ruth. At the end of the 19th century, Thompson's 126 career home runs ranked second only to Roger Connor. Defensively, Thompson still ranks among the all-time major league leaders with 61 double plays for the outfield, 16 all-time and 12th all-time for assists. He's also credited by baseball historians with perfecting the art of throwing the ball to the plate on one bounce, which catchers found easier to handle than the usual throw on the fly. Bill Watkins, who managed Thompson in Detroit, recalled he was a fine fielder, had a cannon arm, and will live in my memory as the greatest natural hitter of all time. Now, in a 1913 story on Thompson, Detroit sports writer McLean Kennedy noted that Thompson's drives were the direct result of more hats being smashed, more backs that were thumped to her black and blue by some wild-eyed fan sitting in the seat behind, more outbursts of frenzied shrieks and howls of glee than those of any other player who ever wore a Detroit uniform, barring only the 2 great stars of the day, Ty Cobb and Sam Crawford. Now, married to one Ida Marasha of Detroit in 1888, they had no children but made their home in Detroit until Thompson's death. After retiring from baseball, he invested in real estate and was financially comfortable in his later years. He was appointed a U.S. Deputy Marshal during World War I and worked as a crier in the courtroom of U.S. District Court Judge Arthur J. Tuttle. He was well-known and a well-liked figure at the Federal Building in Detroit. Now, Thompson was suffering from health problems when he passed away in 1922 at age 62. He had a heart attack while serving as an election inspector on November 7th and was stricken again later in the morning after taken to his home, located on Turnbull Avenue, Detroit. Upon learning of Thompson's death, his former Detroit manager, Bill Watkins, recalled Thompson as not only a great baseball player, but one of the finest gentlemen I ever knew. At Thompson's funeral, Michigan's foremost citizens, state and city officials, judges, bankers, doctors, billionaires, laborers paid homage to their beloved friend, and the neighborhood in which Thompson lived was packed with expensive automobiles and their livered chauffeurs, as workmen and wealthy men discussed their favorite player with an unusual spirit of camaraderie. Now, he was interred at the historic Elmwood Cemetery in Detroit, and was posthumously inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974, of course, that great year. So just a recap: Detroit Wolverines 85 to 88, the Quakers Phillies 89 to 98, and the Tigers 06. NL batting champion 87, two-time NL home run leader at 89 and 95, three-time NL RBI leader 87, 94, 95, and of course part of the Phillies Wall of Fame. Now, Veterans Committee put him in 1974, which was probably, I would think, this is one of the most interesting Hall of Fame inductions, because that year Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford got in, and the the amount of awards that were received that year were just tremendous. Now, but the Cool Papa Bell induction that year as well was quite interesting. The Negro Committee and the Veterans Committee put in Jim Bottomley and Jocko Connell as well as Thompson. Now, the publicity for this Hall of Fame was one of the biggest ever, because Cool Papa Bell again had these followers, but the Thompson in there was more of a salute to the importance of Philly and Detroit baseball on all levels. And when you think of the Phillies throughout the years, a lot of great players. But when Mike Schmidt first came in, there was a lot of media throughout North America that were basically saying, this could be another Thompson, and that's what he was. Home run hitter, RBIs. The only thing Schmidt did, he couldn't steal bases. Thompson was an all-around player. And like I said, you look at Ken Griffey, you look at Dave Winfield. I know it's not like a physical comparison, because these were stronger and, more adept black athletes. But right field, boys, I think of Dave Parker, and I think of Jose Bautista, and I think of Thompson, because that same, killer instinct. He's going to throw you out or hit you out, whatever's going to work. And one of the best players not to officially win a World Series ever in Major League Baseball history. So thanks a lot to Ryan Thompson. Another great request. If you like what we're doing here with our vintage baseball podcast of great athletes of the late 19th century and early 20th century, give us a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Just like Ryan, if you have a request, they're highly appreciated and highly considered. This channel is for you. We try to provide something to you that's different, off the beaten track. Maybe these athletes you never heard of before, but a lot of people I cover here, and suggested by Ryan and other people, I read about these athletes for the first time 45 to 55 years ago when I was a young kid. And my first books were encyclopedias, by the way. I would read about these players. I would read, when I was 6 or 7, I would read encyclopedias, how Britannica was, the text. And I suffer from something, information retention syndrome. If I read about it before, I can talk about it, because I know the importance of these athletes to their specific squads. So you look at all the home run hitters throughout the years and RBI leaders. It's not just Yankees and Dodgers, and even like Blue Jays or Red Sox. The Phillies have had some great home run hitters through the years, and he should be celebrated. And he was like clean up for batting fifth. I think that's the majority, and that's the key. If you're going to win something, you look at the 77 Yankees, right? Until Billy Martin put Reggie batting cleanup, they weren't doing anything. You got to look at Thompson's career. You need a good right fielder to win any title, because he proved that you needed someone like him. A hitter, a home run hitter, RBI, average, the whole thing. In the modern game, I think he would do well, because he used to eat up late hitters. Relievers and stuff. It was tremendous. Thanks for listening. Bye.